So shifting gears, you go from a pretty quick bubble up with signing, boom, hopping on a big tour with KB, dropping a Praying Hands single. Then you dropped the first EP right after that, right? Like a couple months after that. Because the artwork is all kind of the same. I like how the artwork all ties into each other.
Yeah.
And then you got to a place where you were considering walking away from it all. How did you get to that space? Like what happened to get you in a space where you were really considering like quitting music and just falling back?
Yeah, I think I got to that place multiple times, but it was probably like I got to a place where it was the most serious. So like the summer of 2018. Mm-hmm. So it was right after I put out my first project with the label, Destined for Greatness Side A. And I created Side B, and I was ready to drop it. But the label was conflicted because they were saying, we want you to go out and tour, right, and we want you to get a manager and get, a booking agent, and we want you to take the steps to grow to that next level of your career. But me, I'm at home, battling social anxiety. And so I'm like, I don't want to do shows. I don't want to tour. I just want to drop the music. And maybe like I get to the point where I feel more comfortable as I grow and I can do it more. It take more control of, of my situation, Right. And so yeah, like, that summer, like, it was real tough for me. Like I had to completed music but they were like, I can't drop it. So I'm like, well, I don't want to tour. I don't want to do shows. So I'm like, maybe I'll just, I feel like I've given a lot to this music. I've got a catalog out there that could last forever. I'm like, well, maybe it's time to go. Like maybe my mission is done here. Huh. And so, and that's what was in my mind, but God, he worked on me and he gave me the strength to overcome. There was this Bible verse that I read. It was Jesus. He was getting ready to go to the cross. And he said, if there be any other way, please take this cup from me now. Like, I'd rather not go down the cross. Like, but he said, nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I had to follow after my Savior. Like, I have to follow after what he did, And so for me, it wasn't about like what I wanted or what my fears or my struggles were. It was like, what is God calling me to do? And he's calling me to persevere, not just for myself, but to set an example for others. You know what I mean? And so like, I was just like, I'm gonna face this head on. Like, I had some lyrics on this song called Meant for Me on Side B that I wrote that song right after this experience. I said, right in the storm, I stood shoulder to shoulder. Looked the mountain in his face, we was boulder to boulder. Look, my angel, she was by my side, noble to noble. Look to heaven from whence come my help over and over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like right like in front of the biggest mountain I've ever faced in my life. Like, I stood there and I stood strong and I faced it head on because God gave me this strength and he sent supernatural help. You know what I mean? And so I just faced it head on. I got a booking agent. I booked my first tour. I did my first headlining tour. I got a manager. You know what I mean? I took the steps that I needed to take to go to that next place in my career. And then God started to unlock and open doors, much bigger doors and different opportunities that I wasn't able to walk into until I overcame my greatest fears. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. Now, you talked about social anxiety, and there's people watching this right now that are dealing with social anxiety.
Right.
What has helped you? Because I think people who don't understand, like, people will look at someone like you and be like, well, how could he deal with social anxiety? He's popping. He's doing all these things.
They say you signed up for this. That's one of the main things here is like, you signed up for this. Right. And and at the beginning, I thought it was what I wanted. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't.
Yeah, and that's very dismissive, I think, like, to say, like, well, you signed up for this. It's like, well, yeah, you signed up for it, but, like, that doesn't mean that what's happening internally inside of somebody isn't real to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how were you able to face that anxiety head on? Was it just as simple as God, or did you go to therapy?
Right.
Like, what did, like, coping mechanisms? Like, how were you? Because it's tough when you're talking anxiety, but then I got to go in front of a couple hundred people, perform every night, and then I got to go take pictures every night,
Right.
and then I got to wait and then if I walk off before I take pictures with everybody, I look like a jerk, right? Like, that's a lot of pressure for somebody that's internally dealing with anxiety.
Right.
How were you able to overcome that?
Well, I did try to. I tried to go to therapy. The situation that I was in, it just didn't really work out for me. But I'm a big fan of like therapy. You know what I mean? So I would encourage anybody who's struggling with any mental health issues to definitely try therapy. For me, like it was a process. You know what I mean? Like it was just time and me zoning in, like, and really going before God and realizing that I'm not strong enough and that I'm not in control and that I can't control what happens. I can't control my outcome. You know what I mean? And being able to have faith and trust God that no matter what happens, like, that he's good and that it will work out for my good. You know what I mean? So it was a process of like drilling those beliefs into my head and being able to walk that out. And so definitely like reading and worshiping a lot. Like when I get anxious, I'll turn on worship music. You know what I mean? Praying, like, you know what I'm saying? Definitely prayer. Prayer was a big part, like implementing like prayer when I get anxious. You know what I mean?
Memory verses, Bible memory verses?
Yeah, I started like memorizing verses. Also like just to help with like temptation and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things too, like for people dealing with like guilt, shame, or anxiety from sin. It's like, you know, the Bible tells us to cast off every weight, you know, that's hindering us from running the race. So it's like, you know, me and my brother Jay Monty, you know, we talk about this a lot, how life, like, there's going to be suffering, it's going to be hard times, it's going to be struggles. Like Jesus told us that when you're adding like sin and like you're stuck and going through issues that you put yourself in, you're adding extra weight and extra struggle on top of the struggle that you already have to go through.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like I was subjecting myself to a lot of the suffering that I was going through by trying to cope with what I was dealing with in my own means. Right. And I was adding suffering, adding struggles on top of that. So I was just in this big cloud and just not in a place of clarity and able to really hear God's voice. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man, like definitely like, and I still, you know, I battle, like I don't really enjoy living my life in the public eye. Like I don't like putting myself out there all the time like that. Like I'm just chill. I like to stay low key. But I'm embracing like what it takes and what I have to do in order to live out, you know, God's calling for my life.
That's beautiful, man. I think, man, there's a lot there, bro. I appreciate you being so vulnerable, bro, because I think I don't know how many people know this stuff about you. You know what I'm saying? And how you've been pressing into it unapologetically, and it seems like it's not something that you necessarily conquer. You know what I'm saying? But it's a process, and you're conquering.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you're conquering.
Oh yeah, it's a process, man. It never ends. It's a never-ending process. But you grow. Right.
What do you think is a misconception about people who have anxiety? Like people who don't, like, I don't have anxiety. Like I don't deal with anxiety like that. You know what I'm saying? What do you think is a misconception that those of us who don't deal with anxiety have about people who struggle with anxiety?
I definitely think that, you know, people may not understand that it's not something that's easily controllable. Like it's not something that when it happens, you just say, like a lot of people may think, oh, well, it's just like, do something about it. Like work through it, get over it. It's like, it doesn't really work that way. You know what I mean? Right. It really is a real mental issue, struggle, battle that takes sometimes medication to offset the chemical imbalances, that sometimes it takes therapy to deal with the tragedies or trauma that has caused these things in people's minds.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right,
Like
right.
there's so many layers to it, so complex. It's and that's what a lot of things in life, like a lot of people see it as black and white,
Right.
as yes or no, when there's really layers and complexities
Right.
to everybody's story
Right.
and everybody's life that causes different, issues for them.
Yeah, that's good. That it's not there's no one size fits all solution.
Absolutely not.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely
For some
not.
people it could be therapy, for some people it could be exercise, nutrition, might be taking a pill, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a multi-layered thing.
Absolutely.